The ability to block out the noise is key to having a clear mind and playing free. But this is easier said than done. Many athletes don't block out the noise and end up overthinking, doubting their abilities, and worrying about things out of their control. When you lack alignment with your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, you end up losing the ability to just be in the flow. The best strategy to clear and block out the noise is a reset routine. Today, I'm going to share the ABCs of creating an effective and personalized reset routine so that you can block out the noise and get into the zone. The problem with blocking out the noise and clearing your mind is that it's not tangible. You can't just hit a switch, throw away the distracting thoughts, or just forget about your worries. It doesn't work that way. However, the reset routine provides a repeatable and reliable solution by pulling together three crucial psychological concepts to being free and in the moment. The magic is not in the routine itself, but in what the routine represents. So here are the three ABCs of the reset routine. First is acceptance, and that's about dealing with and embracing any distracting thoughts and feelings. The second is about breathing, and that's about getting present and managing your internal arousal level. And the third one is about commitment. It's about setting a clear intention and moving forward and activating our best self. Now, a quick reminder before we dive in, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you're interested in our mental performance coaching services, you can find out more at cpmindset.com. All right, so let's dive in. Step one is acceptance. And this is the most important step, and one that society misunderstands and most people get tripped up on. Common language in sport culture and this old school thinking mentalities of you need to, you have to, there's all these shoulds. This language can be really problematic. You can end up feeling the burden of expectations. You get distracted by the results that are not in your control, and you end up being primed for frustration if you fall short of meeting those expectations. However, expectations are not all bad. It gets often misconstrued as this fluffy, lovey-dovey concept best reserved for hippies. So acceptance is not about living in a fantasy world or where nothing really matters and you don't really care and you're ambivalent to everything. This obviously wouldn't work very well for being a high performer. When you properly understand, effectively use acceptance, it is key to high performance. It helps you get centered and grounded. And again, just to reiterate, that is why this step is the most important. Without this step and understanding how to effectively accept and deal with your thoughts and emotions, your reset routine will not be as effective or reliable as it can be. All right, so my favorite analogy to break down acceptance is the pink elephant and bubble. So if I say, don't think of a pink elephant, what do you think of? A pink elephant. People say to athletes all the time, don't worry about it, forget about it, just be positive. Those are the outcomes we might want, but they're not the how-to. And they don't teach us how to actually deal with the noise, which is the pink elephant. Now, the bubble in this analogy is your focus and your awareness. And what do we want? We want a clear bubble, dialed in, focused on the process and the things within your control. Problem is, pink elephants show up. That's the noise. It's the thoughts, the feelings that distract us. And the common advice is to run away, ignore, or fight it. But these don't work. You can't just ignore the noise. You'll still weigh on you. You can't outrun it. It comes with you. And you can't fight it. It'll make it bigger and louder. So what we want to learn to do is to go to the noise, to understand it and to embrace it. That is how we accept and let go. And now the pink elephant's not gone forever, but it's can move it outside of the bubble. And it could come back. And when you develop your reset routine and you practice using it over and over again, you can actually get good at filtering it and not even letting the pink elephants come in. Now, my favorite example of acceptance is the samurai, these great warriors that were really well prepared before going to war. And what they did, though, before going to war was they accepted the possibility of death. They'd say goodbye to those families if they might not come home. And by doing that, how would they fight? They'd fight fearless and in the moment instead of, oh my God, I'm afraid to die. Like that wouldn't go so well out on the battlefield. This doesn't mean they wanted to die. They didn't want to die. They wanted to live. But by accepting the reality of the situation, it helped them let it go and just be in the moment. So the good news for you and most athletes, this is about winning and losing or making a mistake versus making a play. I recently started working with a surgeon and we were reviewing this concept. The reality is not every surgery will be successful given the challenging nature of the surgeries he does. So this was definitely a different type of conversation for me, but the principles held true. I don't want the doctor to be indifferent to the life or death of his patients. But if he is not willing to accept that his patients could die, then he shouldn't be that kind of surgeon. He said this was a light bulb moment for him. No one ever said that to him before. They spend years and years refining how to be a surgeon, but they're not trained on how to manage the emotions and fears associated with it. As a result, he's been able to stay calmer in surgeries with a measurably lower heart rate, which will help him continue to be an even better surgeon. Which is why, again, if you can get this concept down, it can be a game changer. Now, the hardest part, though, is knowing what to accept. This can be difficult for two big reasons. One is blind spots. You might be able to feel the fear, but you can't see it. And if we can't see it, then it's hard to embrace, understand, and accept it. And second, you often can get too zoomed in. You're only seeing part of the whole problem or issue or the mental block or the noise. This is why it's beneficial to work with a third party, a mental performance coach that can help you find those blind spots quickly and effectively. They can help you give perspective. However, you can't always rely on another person. And so it's important to think of acceptance and your reset routine as a skill. And it's getting better at feeling around to find the root of the noise. What is it at the deepest level? What is the thing that you're holding on to the most? And then that helps us. Once we find that, we can see it and understand it. Now we're better at knowing what to accept and how we can be more willing to accept it. We can zoom out, get perspective, and move forward. Now, everything we've covered under step one so far has been about the concept of acceptance. And it's a willingness problem. So hopefully the things we've covered give you some perspective and the ability and understanding of how you can be more willing to accept the noise. But we want to turn this concept into a practice and a habit. So pairing it with an action is one of the best ways to make it stick. The most common example we share is a hockey player spraying water in the air and watching it fall. It reminds them to accept and let go. This obviously won't work for everyone, and your job is to find something that works for you. Sometimes athletes will actually use breathing, step two, which I'm about to cover, as the action for step one. All right, so step two is all about breathing, and there's a vast amount of strategies on the importance of using your breath to help you get relaxed, calm, and centered. One of my favorite lines is an anxious mind cannot exist in a relaxed body, which I think does a great job of articulating and highlighting the connection between our mind, our physical state, and our mental state. And so breathing is a great way to manage our physical and physiological state. It can increase our arousal levels, which is sometimes needed, but often it's about relaxing it, getting us centered. At the same time, when you're focused on your breath, it brings you to the present. And so not only is there a benefit to getting centered and managing arousal level, there's just the mental state benefit of focusing on the present moment. So it's a simple but very effective tool you want to integrate into your reset routine. So here are the four of the most common ones that we encourage and have athletes use in the reset routine. First is deep belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is just about making sure we're not taking shallow chest breaths, but actually going deep into our diaphragm or belly. You know you're doing this well when you get a nice big expansion in your belly. And if your goal is to get relaxed, you might have a 3-second inhale and then a long exhale. Box breathing is another common technique, and it's simply about creating a box with your breath. And so the idea is 4-second inhale, then a 4-second hold, and then a 4-second exhale, and another 4-second hold. And then that would be one cycle. And you could do 1, 2, 3 of these as part of your reset routine. The physiological sigh is another one that helps replicate an actual sigh that actually helps you get relaxed. And so the premise here is 2 breaths in. It's going about 80% inhale on the first breath, and then you get the next, and then you pause for just a second. So 80%, then you pause, and then you get the last 20%, and then a long exhale. So again, the premise is recreating a sigh, and it's definitely proven effective way to help make sure you're getting relaxed, lowering that arousal level. Last one I'll reference here is progressive muscle relaxation or PMR. And that's simply about squeezing and relaxing your muscles. And so it's less about breathing, but you would want to be breathing while you do it. And you're always breathing. So you might as well focus on your breath while you do it as well. But the premise here is you focus on that tension in your muscles. You can squeeze your fists at 70% for 7 seconds. You're holding it. You feel the tension. And then you relax, let go. And you can feel the tension go down to 0. And you see and notice the difference. Now, the goal here is just pick the one that feels the best for you. Don't have to overcomplicate it. It can be simple. It could be one deep belly breath, but make sure you are specific. That helps make the reset routine more tangible and transparent, which helps it make something you can repeatedly do. Now, again, a reminder and a disclaimer, it's not an alternative to acceptance. You can do all the deep breathing in the world. If you don't accept and let go and deal with and face the noise, the deep breathing is not going to be a sustainable solution. An alternative to the acceptance piece, which is again, the primary step. All right, let's bring it home with step 3. This is about now commitment. This is the moving forward part. And so when we think back about acceptance, it's not just about acceptance and then done. This is the other side on the mental. It's like you want to clear the noise, but then commit and set a clear intention on how you want to show up and move forward. For most athletes, we encourage them to close their eyes just for a brief moment and visualize, imagine, and rehearse, what do I want to do next? And how do I want to feel? Obviously, don't close your eyes if you're in the middle of a game or in a situation where you can't, then that wouldn't work in that situation. And the key here, when you're setting this intention, it's not just about what you want to do, but how you want to feel while you're doing it. This helps activate your best self. Now, the last piece to close out the reset routine is the use of a totem or an anchor. Now, the totem comes from Todd Herman's work in the alter ego, which is one of our core strategies that we use as well. And the premise is about creating an association with a narrative and how you want to show up and move forward. And so it's similar though with an anchor. It's just something that you do. It's a final mechanism. It could be tapping your skates or looking at your stick or a symbol that's related to that alter ego that anchors it in. All right, time to activate, attack, move forward. This is very effective, very powerful, especially when you personalize it. It's tied into your alter ego. It's meaningful and it should click for you. At this point, you should have a pretty good idea of how to build your own personalized reset routine to help you block out the noise and play free. You know, you're doing it effectively when you feel the alignment in your thoughts, feelings, and actions. You will stay composed under pressure, bounce back from mistakes, and be able to get into the flow state. Now remember, the routine and the actions are not what make it work. The ability to accept is the key. So if your routine is not working well, the solution is often about doing a better job of finding the pink elephants and getting to the root of the noise and fully embracing it. Again, here's that summary of the 3 ABCs. It's about acceptance, breathing, commitment. Make associated actions for each. And when you make this tangible route, it should be only about 10 to 15 seconds. Although obviously there's variations that can be shorter or longer depending on your sport and situation. The bottom line is you need to personalize it and find what works for you. All right, I hope you found this helpful. Please comment, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Please share this with anyone you think that would benefit. Now, if you're interested in help developing your own personalized reset routine or anything else to do with our mental performance coaching programs and services, you can check that out at cpmindset.com. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.